Check, check.
Okay, Madam Clerk, I see a quorum. Are you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, get my agenda back out here. Okay, welcome everyone to the special meeting of the Richmond City Council. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Bates,
Present.
Councilmember Jimenez,
Present.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Councilmember Martinez,
Here.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Here.
Councilmember Willis.
Now I'm here.
Okay, and Mayor Butt.
Sure. We do not have open forum tonight, but the public does have an opportunity to speak on the two items we have on the agenda, as well as a report from the city attorney. So would you roll the instructional video, please?
Thank you.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted via Zoom pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Urgency Measure Assembly Bill 361, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. The Mayor will call upon council members, staff, and other guest speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Council members, staff, and guest speakers participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Community members participating via Zoom wishing to speak should use the raised hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the mayor or city clerk will call upon them at the appropriate time. Community members will have up to 2 minutes to speak, 3 minutes for public hearings. After the speaker's time expires, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Community members participating via phone will be called upon to speak by the last 4 digits of their phone number. Public input and participation are of the utmost importance to the City of Richmond City Council. Therefore, it is important for public speakers to be ready to address the council when called upon. Public speakers are requested to state their names and city of residence, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received before and during the meeting in accordance with the COVID-19 public comment guidelines printed on the meeting agenda will be entered into the record and published at the clerk's office web. If they would like to speak on the item, they should raise their hand when prompted by the mayor, and the city clerk will call upon them at the appropriate time. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. The meeting can be seen on KCRT's TV channel and is being streamed on Zoom, YouTube, and KCRT.com. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the City of Richmond City Council.
Debido a COVID-19, esta reunión se llevará a cabo a través de Zoom en conformidad con las provisiones de la medida de urgencia del gobernador de la Ley de la Asamblea 361, que suspende ciertos requisitos de la Ley Brown. El alcalde llamará a los concejales, a los empleados de la ciudad y a otros invitados a hablar por nombre. Por favor, hable claramente y diga su nombre antes de dar su comentario. Se recuerda a los concejales, empleados de la ciudad y otros invitados participando a través de Zoom con sus cámaras encendidas que sus actividades son visibles al público. Miembros de la comunidad participando a través de Zoom que deseen hablar deberían de usar la función levantar la mano, en inglés raise hand, o marcar *9 si están participando por teléfono. El alcalde y la secretaria municipal llamarán a los oradores en el momento apropiado. Miembros de la comunidad tendrán hasta 2 minutos para hablar y 3 minutos para temas de audiencias públicas. Después de que se expire el tiempo de orador, se le bajará la mano y el micrófono será silenciado. Miembros de la comunidad participando por teléfono serán llamados para su turno usando los últimos 4 dígitos de su número de teléfono. Los comentarios y la participación del público son de suma importancia para el Consejo Municipal. Por lo tanto, es importante que los oradores públicos estén listos para dar sus comentarios al Consejo Municipal cuando sean llamados. Se pide que los oradores públicos indiquen sus nombres y ciudad de residencia, pero proveer dicha información es voluntario. Comentarios escritos recibidos antes y durante la reunión, de acuerdo con las reglas designadas para comentario público durante el COVID-19, imprimidos en la agenda de la reunión, serán ingresados en el registro y se publicarán en la página web de la Secretaría Municipal. Si los autores de la correspondencia escrita también desean hablar sobre el tema, deberían levantar la mano cuando sea pedido por el alcalde, y la Secretaría Municipal los llamará en el momento apropiado. Se realizará una votación nominal para todos los puntos de acción. La reunión se podrá ver en el canal de televisión de KCRT y también se transmitirá en Zoom, YouTube y kcrt.com. Gracias por participar en una reunión de Consejo Municipal de la ciudad de Richmond.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted.
Okay, all done?
Yes.
Okay, the next item is report from the city attorney of final decisions made during closed session. And we're going to change this a little bit. I've done some research on it.
Mr. Mayor, you forgot agenda
Agenda
review.
review.
Forgot what?
Agenda review.
Oh, I'm sorry, statement of conflict of interest. Are there any? Don't see any. Okay. Next item is agenda review.
I have something.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, city council discussions of litigation belong in closed session, and discussing F1 in open session could put the city in significant risk and in a weakened legal position. Therefore, I move to table F1.
Well, the motion is not ripe yet.
We've done them in open.
We have to come to F1 and we'll introduce it. And then if you want to bring a motion to table it, that'll be the time to do it.
Well, we've done it
Point
in
of
agenda.
information.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yes, what?
I mean, honestly, I seem to recall doing things in the past vastly differently, and we have removed items from the agenda during agenda review with all respect to the item holders. But city attorney, would you be able to comment on the right procedure around tabling items? Could we do it during agenda review, or do we have to wait till we get to the item?
Well, I'm the chair and I'm.
Teresa, city attorney,
Oh,
city attorney next to her name, not the mayor. Teresa,
Councilmember Willis.
Teresa, I asked the city attorney, not the mayor.
Go through the chair.
Teresa, please.
Teresa,
what
I'm
is
directing you not to answer it. He needs to go through the chair.
I don't, whatever. Point of information to the city attorney. Would you be able to let me know, like, what the proper procedure is to go about this?
Teresa, I'm directing you not to answer that. If he has a question about procedure and protocol, he can ask the chair.
So, Mr.
By
Mayor, I would like,
By
I would like-
Rosenberg's rule, it's the chair's prerogative to rule on things like this.
Did not
Chair can
acknowledge
be
the chair because
overruled.
my question was not directed to the chair, it was
The chair
directed to
can
the
be
city attorney.
overruled. The chair can be overruled under
so
your
I
rule.
move we overrule the chair and have the city attorney answer Councilmember Willis's question.
I'll second that.
All right, let's take a vote on it, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bates,
No,
Councilmember,
I'm not.
Councilmember Jimenez,
Yes,
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Sure, it's just a question.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes,
Councilmember Willis,
Yes,
and Mayor Butt.
No,
The motion passes with Mayor Butt and Councilmember Bates voting no.
okay, ask your question, Councilmember Willis.
do you still remember my question, city attorney? Oh, you're muted.
I believe your question was, what has happened in the past and what are your options?
Yeah, could we do it, could we make motions on agendas during agenda review, or do we have to wait till the item actually gets called?
My recollection, and I would defer to the clerk on this, is I have seen you do it in, I believe, in both spots. Ultimately, it is the call of the chair about which of those two places he would like to hear it. And that ruling is subject to being overruled by all of you, just like you did just a moment ago.
so it sounds like Mayor Butt, you wanted to do it later, but I think it's important to get it out of the way now. So I will move that we overrule your decision to put it off until we get to the item and that we do it under agenda review.
Okay, well, that'll be a suspension of the rules, and it'll take 5 votes. So is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, let's call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bates,
No,
Councilmember Jimenez,
Yes,
Vice Mayor Johnson,
I abstain.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes,
Councilmember Willis,
Yes,
and Mayor Butt.
No,
So the motion
Mr.
fails.
Mr. Mayor, my understanding is motion to overrule the chair is a simple majority. And I would like the city attorney to
well, it is.
opine on that.
It is unless it involves a suspension of the rules. And if you read Rosenberg's rules, there's and also our own procedures. It describes how we go down the agenda and we call each item. And the
My
person-
recollection of the rules is different, is that
Well-
indeed any item to overrule the mayor is a simple majority. I would really
Not
like,
if it's a suspension of the rules.
but the rule states that we could always overrule the mayor with a simple majority. So that is not a suspension, as I understand it. City attorney, have you gotten that?
Yeah, I have the rule in front of me. This is on page 4 of your rules. It's Roman 1, capital A, duties of the mayor at the city council meeting. And I'm picking up in the middle of that section, it says, the mayor has the final say on all of the rules, subject to being overturned by a majority of the city council.
There we go. So that says we have the votes to,
Well, why do we require five votes to extend the meeting past 11:30?
You
well,
have a rule that requires you to do that. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, are you asking?
Well,
me?
whatever, you guys are gonna do it, you're gonna do it anyway, so,
so that was my motion to table F1, which is, to table F1.
okay, let's take a vote. No, we need a
Was there a
second.
second?
may I speak on the item?
No, you can't, a
There's
motion to
no
table has no
debate.
discussion.
I second that.
Okay.
Is
No
it to
debate.
Okay, we
table
have a motion and a second to table
F1 or F2?
F1, right?
F1 is the item about the city
Right.
attorney giving a report on Point Malati. Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's the one.
Yeah, all right, let's call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bates,
No.
Councilmember Jimenez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Abstain.
Councilmember Martinez,
yes,
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
All respect to the sponsor, literally, but yes.
and Mayor Butt.
No.
The motion passes with Mayor Butt and Councilmember Bates voting no, and Vice Mayor Johnson abstaining.
Okay, now I'm sorry, that brings us down to reports from the city attorney. And what I was beginning to say a little early is that there are a few things I found out over the last week or so. One of them is that there's no legal requirement for the city attorney to be the person who reports out decisions. And as a matter of fact, in some of the regional commissions and boards I sit on, often those decisions are reported out by the chair, not the council or the attorney. So I think and the second thing is that the Brown Act is pretty clear, and I've read it 3 times tonight. I'll read it again. The legislative body of any local agency shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention on that action of every member present. So I think that in the past, we've kept a lot of decisions secret from the public improperly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by giving the city attorney the opportunity to report anything she wants to report out, and then I'm going to follow it with my report. So go ahead, Teresa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will remind you once again that the preface of the Brown Act doesn't answer the question of what is and what isn't reported out. There are specific provisions in the Brown Act, as you know, I have pointed those out to you, that specifically require certain types of actions to be reported out, and they're very specific. All of the public agencies that I have worked with in the past either have the city attorney or the general counsel report out, or the city attorney or the general counsel help script the report out if there is a reportable action, because what is reportable depends on the circumstances. It depends on the type of action, the type of closed session, the type of action. And it needs to be done with a certain level of precision that you have to get into the weeds. The devil's in the detail. It's very nuanced. It's very regulatory. You can't just read the preface of the Brown Act that talks about transparency to find out the answer to the question of what must be reported out. In addition to that, the difficulty is that if you, there are certain things that are required to be reported out. And if there's an action taken in the closed session that is not required to be reported out, then reporting it out is in and of itself a Brown Act violation, unless the majority has decided to report that action out. So you either have to do it or you can't do it absent a majority vote. So I'm going to caution you. I'm going to go ahead and give my report out based on what I have. I will make the offer to you once again that if in the future you prefer to do the report out, I'm happy to help script that for you so that you are reporting out what must be reported out and not reporting out what may not be reported out.
Look, I understand your position. Why don't you go ahead and do your report and then I'll do mine.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, but I'm going to caution you. I don't know what you're about ready to report
look,
out.
I got the picture.
Well, I just want to make sure everyone
I
understands.
don't agree with you, and you're not going to convince me. So don't waste your breath.
Yeah, I'm offended, so I'm just gonna leave the dais right now during this. Everybody else have fun with it.
Okay, go ahead, Teresa.
Okay, there is one reportable action to report, All of the other actions that were taken in closed session, there were no reportable actions taken. So the action that was taken by a 6-1 vote with Councilmember Bates voting no and Mayor Butt recused, the City Council directed the City Attorney to publicly report the following action taken in closed session. By a 6-1 vote, again with Councilmember Bates voting no and Mayor Butt recused, the City Council directed the City Attorney to bring forward for Council's consideration at a future open session a resolution to, number 1, censure the mayor for improperly disclosing confidential attorney-client privileged information, and 2, direct the City Attorney to refer the matter to both the grand jury and the district attorney. That's all I have.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to correct the city attorney in that the vote was, since the mayor was absent, I believe the vote was 5 to do it and 1, was it a no or an abstain? Was it 5-1?
That's correct. I
would you repeat
apologize.
that
The hour is late. Both
Yes.
votes that I reported were 5-1.
Okay,
So with, in both cases, Councilmember Bates voting no and Mayor Butt being recused on both. So it was 5-1 on both votes. My apologies, and thank you, Councilmember, for the correction.
Okay, so I'm going to give my report now. I'm going to start with last week's closed session. In last week's closed session, November the 2nd, the City Council took the action of approving a proposed separation agreement with the city manager with one proposed modification, that the City Council would adopt a resolution condemning statements made by me in the Tom Budd e-form about the performance of the city manager. The vote was 5 in favor, 1 abstention, who was Martinez, and 1 dissent. That was me. In tonight's closed session, on the subject of the appeal of the Point Malati Brown Act litigation, there was a motion directing the city attorney to engage an attorney selected by Councilmember McLaughlin to provide a second opinion about the subject of filing a brief conceding the petitioner's points. And that vote was Council members McLaughlin, Jimenez, Martinez, and Willis voted for it. Council members Johnson, Butt, and Bates voted against it. And then the last reportable item is that on the subject of the city manager, the City Council approved a severance agreement with council members, council members McLaughlin, Johnson, Jimenez, Willis, Bates, and Martinez voting yes, and I voted no. And that concludes my report. And that brings us to,
Mr. Mayor, you are breaking the Brown Act laws with that. And you just heard the city attorney, but you decided to do this more for political reasons and put
well,
the
you
city.
guys are welcome. You guys are welcome to come visit me in jail. So you're breaking my heart, Councilmember Jimenez. Okay, the last item is to adopt a resolution condemning the statements made. Well, you read it. I'm sorry, you read it, City Clerk. Go ahead, item F2.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Councilmember Bates, go ahead.
I thought we were going to have a agenda review.
We finished agenda review.
So that means my item is not going to be discussed whatsoever.
That's right. The City Council majority voted to table it.
Can I ask the question of the city attorney?
No, you can ask me and I'll ask the city attorney.
Well, may I ask a question through you,
Okay.
city attorney? Am I permitted to inquire and ask the city attorney to give us the status of the legal action and the consequences of this lawsuit?
City Attorney, you want to respond to that?
Councilmember Bates, there was a motion to table your item. That motion was approved by the majority. So the item has now been tabled. And based on that motion, the item cannot be discussed.
And we don't have an opportunity for public forum. So seeing that I cannot be given an opportunity, I'd like to be placed on the open forum at the next meeting. This is ridiculous.
Okay.
And I would further request that the city attorney provide the full council a summary about the status of the lawsuit and the litigation threats we have received related to the case. The public will know one way or the other. So that's my request, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. You can shut this damn thing down all you want to without allowing us to have a public hearing, but it will come out. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Should I go ahead with F2? You're muted.
I'm sorry, go ahead and read item F2.
Item F2 of the council as a whole is to adopt a resolution condemning the statements made in the e-form about the city manager's job performance.
Okay, this was put on there by interim Chief Assistant City Attorney Heather McLaughlin. Would you like to introduce it? You're muted. Heather, you're muted.
The headphones do not work on this computer apparently.
Oh, go ahead.
This item was put on at the request of the city council, as you announced, Mayor. And it's an item that was directed by the council. And you can make the changes that you wish to make to it. You could add other items. You could take away items.
Okay, are there any questions? Well, I have a couple of questions. So you're the author of this item, Heather, and in the agenda report that you authored, you wrote, as quote, as noted in the resolution, the e-form postings about the city manager's job performance were not made on behalf of the city of Richmond or authorized by the city council of the city of Richmond. The postings also do not reflect the views of a majority of the city council of the city of Richmond. Now, if you read the specific e-forms listed in the resolution, you'll note that they say exactly the same. Tom Budd is the mayor, and I quote, Tom Budd is the mayor of Richmond, California. When opinions and views expressed without other attribution in the Tom Budd e-form, they are those of Tom Budd and do not reflect official views or positions of the city of Richmond or the Richmond City Council unless otherwise noted. So my question to you is, why do you feel compelled to repeat in the resolution what I've already written? Was my explanation unclear?
Mayor, I don't see any point in arguing with you about this. I think it's pretty clear that you as mayor.
We can't hear you. You're not muted, but you're
Soft. Does that help more? Is that better volume?
well, that's good enough.
If you could talk a little louder, Heather, maybe.
Sorry about that. So the items that you put out on the e-form, even though you say that they're put out as you as personal, you can't just lose your hat as mayor. everyone knows you're the mayor. It says Mayor Tom Butt. And it's important for the city, for its employees, and everyone to know that these items are not the collective wisdom of the city council.
That's exactly what I said in my e-form. So my question to you is, why do you feel compelled to repeat it? You think people are stupid and they don't read it, or they don't understand it the first time, so you got to say it twice?
Mayor, I find it pointless to argue with you on this.
Okay. All right. Well, any other questions on this? Councilor Bates, you got a hand up.
Well, I was hopeful that my colleagues would recognize the serious problems that we have in this city today. We're losing a city manager, we're losing a city attorney, and continue infighting among ourselves and with the mayor does not bid well for a city that calls itself the pride and purpose. I know we got disagreements. We always have disagreements. We're not going to all see things in the same light. But there are some First Amendment rights that I'm acquainted with that some of you don't seem to be acquainted with. And that individuals have the right to say, to an extent, especially public officials and government officials. We don't have the sanctions that the general public has. I remember Alan Clayton Powell called a lady a carpetbagger. Well, he had to pay about $200,000 for that because she was a private citizen. But you can call Trump, you can call the president, you can call anybody a thief, a crook, or whatever. And nothing is going to happen because we are public servants and we are not shielded with the protection that the average John Doe is in the community. And instead of continuing to fight among ourselves, recognize that and let's move on. Let's try to work in collaboration to move this city forward. We got too many problems in this city to get hung up with animosity with this person. And ex-mayor McLaughlin, I'm disappointed in you. You have been the mayor. You know the problems. When you were running the mayorship, we had more recesses than all the mayors in the history of the city. And you know that you gotta work together. Stop being politicians and be statesmen. Work both sides, work with each other. And don't keep aligning yourself with the RPA on everything, because that's what's happening. RPA now, and you not being the mayor, but you running the show just like you are the mayor. Be respectful of the position, try to work it out, and let's move this city forward. And that's all I got to say, and I'll be voting no.
Councilor Willis.
Yeah, and thank you for your comments, Councilmember Bates. You actually touched on a lot of things that I do agree with, especially with the state of our city. I think one reason to talk about this resolution and a vote on it is just objectively, we are just talking about one singular entity that it does carry a lot of influence in the city, and let's face facts, not just in the city, but through a long tenure has a lot of influence in many jurisdictions, and certain words hold weight. Now, for me, it's important that we differentiate the opinions between one individual versus our opinions as an organization, because I don't want to subscribe and say I agree with the criticisms that were laid out against various staff members, and that also does have an impact on how people can apply to another job. Like usually it's like if you do apply somewhere and someone's going to look back at your record, it's going to be important to know like which one of those things seem to be more personal and which one of those things seem to be more factual. And by looking at this resolution, we're just showing a very clear separation as an organization from the opinion of one, regardless of what may actually be inside of an e-form. That way we can maintain people's professional integrity and not subscribe ourselves to any speed bumps along the way for people in the future, which is something that has come up a lot as we're talking about our ways of how we recruit or our perception that we put out to the rest of the region, how other people see us. It's going to be important that we at least give people an opportunity to not have their professional reputation slandered. And if we do feel like that may have happened or that there was disrespect, or in this case, there were personal attacks and abuse that may or may not have crossed the line. I'm not an attorney. I'm just taking information as I go. I think this resolution is important to really talk about what is the city council or the city organization actually subscribing itself to versus the views of individuals, which we will always have our own individual views. So that's what I wanted to add in terms of the discussion on this item and resolution.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make it clear on my part that this is about protecting the city of Richmond. This is not about attacking the mayor. And if we have to distance ourselves from one of us in order to protect the city of Richmond, I hope that we would all be bold enough to do that. Even if I was on the receiving end of this, I hope my colleagues on the council would take the same action against me if I was to carry out these same acts. Because none of us are above the rule of law. None of us are above the institution that we serve, that is the city of Richmond. And we have to make sure that we put in place certain actions to prevent these things from happening in the future and to protect the city of Richmond once again. This is not about attacking any one individual. This is about protecting the city, the organization that serves over 100,000 individuals, and how not taking this action can put all of that at risk. So I just wanted to make that extremely and abundantly clear for everyone who's watching and interpreting tonight's actions. This is not an attack on one individual. This is the protection of the entity that serves all of us.
So it's 11 o'clock. I'm going to need a motion to continue the meeting.
Motion to continue the meeting till the end of this item.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bates,
No.
Councilmember Jimenez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
and Mayor Butt.
No.
Motion passes with Mayor Butt and Councilmember Bates voting no.
Councilmember Jimenez, you wanted to speak on this item.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Vice Mayor Johnson and Councilmember Willis just said. But also I will add that is to make sure that we are sending a message to the community and the staff that we are not going to allow this abuse of power in the city. And now is very important because we are in these transitions where we need to send this message that this city council is going to be willing to protect the staff that is helping us working in the community. As you remember, we have a lot of vacancies. And we want to fill these vacancies because we want to make sure that we are serving our community as best as we can. And with this kind of behavior, and particular by the mayor, who is the lead person, the leader in this community, then I am doubt that many people will like to work here. So I just wanted to thank everybody who is hanging here in there, because it's not easy in an environment that you don't know what you are going to say that is going to put you at risk of being attacked and be putting it out there with things that can be true or can not be true, or just really provocative and attacking the persona. So as I agree that it's not an attack on just one person. It's about us as an institution to present something and to act to avoid more disruption and just like protect staff and the people who are doing the work to serve our community. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any public speakers, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we do.
Okay, would you call the public speakers?
Okay, I have Tarnell Abbott. Tarnell, you'll have 2 minutes to speak. You can go ahead and start.
Tarnell Abbott, Richmond resident. I really appreciate the points that were made by council members Melvin Willis, Denlis Johnson, and Claudia Jimenez. And you know, I think the e-forum is a bully pulpit, and there's a problem with that. And I hope that this brings some resolution. And everything that those 3 council members said, I was going to say, but they already said it. So now I'm going to be quiet. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no more public speakers.
Councilmember Bates, you have a hand up. Do you want to say something else?
I don't know if my colleagues recognize the damaging effect that we're having. We're going to have to recruit people who want to come to a city that's in disarray and fighting among themselves. Everybody know Tom, who he is. We know he's hard-headed, stubborn. He got his own viewpoint. So do we. And, you know, all of us got our own stubborn viewpoints. But to focus upon these kind of personal attacks does not do well for a city who's trying to rebound with its COVID-19, go out and recruit some good, solid employees, try to recruit the police department. We're becoming a laughing stock of the damn Bay Area. And I just don't understand how this council continue to find a reason to start attacking. I wish we would stop it. And let's start working. The voters put us in office to work together to solve problems. All we're doing is working against each other and creating problems. So
you got a hand up, Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I think this resolution is important, especially the whereas that says the council condemns this kind of behavior. So if passed, it will make it clear to the public at large that we do not condone this kind of behavior of putting out this hostility through Tom Butt's e-forum. And I think that will convey the message that the majority of this council has a different way of doing business and handling the services and the operations and the policy making for our community.
Councilmember McLaughlin, would you be interested in telling us and telling the public exactly what it was in my e-forum that you take issue with? Was there something in there? Was there something in there that was inaccurate?
All I can say is that you have a history, and your e-forum has repeatedly bashed staff, including the city manager in this case in particular. And this is a statement on our part based on, if we approve it, that we do not condone that.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll move the item.
Okay, is there a second?
Second by Willis.
Second by Willis. So before we take a vote on that, I just want to say one thing. You guys are the biggest bunch of hypocrites I've ever seen. What you've done tonight is 6 of you have voted to terminate the city manager. I'm the only one that didn't vote to do it. But I'm also the only one. I'm also the only one that apparently has the guts to tell the public or to tell the public why I take issue with some of the things the city manager's done. So you guys don't have the guts to speak up and tell the public what it is about the city manager's performance you might take issue with, but you're very quick to condemn me for doing the same thing. Obviously, you must not be happy with the city manager, or you wouldn't vote, or 6 of you wouldn't have voted to terminate her. So with that in mind, I guess let's call.
You are lying. You are lying because it wasn't like that. So, but it's like, oh my God.
Councilor
I'm just so shocked at how quick he turned on Councilmember Bates after Bates just had his
total hypocrite. You too, Vice Mayor. Anybody else want to speak up?
Yes.
You too, Councilmember Willis. Councilmember McLaughlin, you're a hypocrite too.
Yes, I just want to say point of order, Mayor Butt.
Sure.
You lied. You did vote to terminate the city manager.
No, I did not. Not since June.
No.
Councilor McLaughlin, that is not accurate. We took a vote tonight and I reported it out. 6 of you voted to proceed with the severance agreement and I voted no. So the public needs to know that. Okay, so call the roll, please, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please. You're muted.
Sorry, thank you. Councilmember Bates,
No.
Councilmember Jimenez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
That was a mischaracterization of events. That's all I will say, but yes.
Mayor Butt.
No.
The motion passes with Councilmember Bates and Mayor Butt voting no.
Okay.
El alcalde es un mentiroso. El alcalde es un mentiroso, para que lo sepan.
Before we adjourn, I need to read one memorial. This is from Carol and Don Woodrow's daughter, just texted me this today. Carol Woodrow passed peacefully today in her sleep. She's survived by her husband, Don, daughter, Melissa, daughter-in-law, Lacey, and grandchildren, Jolie and Kylan. A native of Rochester, New York, a lifelong educator, Carol loved helping kids with learning challenges reach their potential. Carol settled in Richmond in 2000. She volunteered at Washington Elementary School and was active in other Richmond civic groups. And I think she passed away earlier today. So does anybody else have any? Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember Jimenez.
I just wanted to say happy birthday to Vice Mayor Johnson. I'm sorry that you had to deal with this meeting tonight, but hope you enjoy the rest of the night and happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other memorials? Okay, with that, Heather, do you have a hand up? You got something to say? You're muted. That's okay. Okay, we're
Vice Mayor, I was looking for confetti to throw, but it doesn't give me that option.
What?
Appreciate the sentiment.
There it goes.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Good evening.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.